motion. Let me just zoom out just a little bit so you can get a clearer idea here of the movement of these rain and isolated storms. We're not even tracking a whole lot of storm action here, but some very heavy rain from Campton Hills up into northern King County that will continue to cross over the county line. Marengo over towards Cary. You're going to see some of these rain showers, heavy at times, a few rumbles of thunder moving through. I believe we are just now getting a new tornado warning on the map right now, and this is another storm cell that we were watching closely. So as we backtrack in, this is just a new tornado warning that is developed in our region. As we take a look at this one, you can see this is parts of DuPage County. This is from Wheaton up towards Bloomingdale. And this tornado warning remains in effect now until 4:15. So again, what we're finding here is radar scanning the skies, working with a team of meteorologists here, as well as the National Weather Service. And what we're finding is some weak rotation out there. So again, the possibility here of these storms to take on rotation, bring with it a brief or isolated tornado in parts of the area. So this is for northeast DuPage County, Wheaton up towards Bloomingdale, over towards Elmhurst. Anyone in this zone right along I-290, you can see 355. You're in this warning. If you're getting the warning, you want to get to your safe place just to be safe. This is not the time to go outdoors, see what's happening. Very heavy rain will be accompanying some of these storms. Bloomingdale towards Wheaton. Notice not a lot of lightning. These are not strong supercell thunderstorms. They're not stretching up to 30, 40, 50,000 feet. They're about 10, 20,000 feet. And in terms of our biggest threat for the night tonight, it will be that rotation out there. So just want to quickly look at velocity with new information coming in from the National Weather Service. Signs of rotation out there. Larry, you're keeping a close eye on this as well. I know it's a little bit hard to define rotation, but it does appear it is becoming a little bit more noticeable over towards Kane County, but we do now have two tornado warnings that we are monitoring.
Yeah, Cheryl, the one in Kane County does not look as strong as it was before, but that cell in DuPage County is growing in some strength and intensity, and it's got a clear hook echo right now, right over Butterfield Road, which is 56 here. You can see just north of the Reagan here, north of 88, right in that zone is where this potential tornado is located. I'll take you in even closer here and show you some of the streets. So this is heading up pretty close to Naperville Road, up towards Barcliff Boulevard, Lamont Road as well. This will take you up towards 38, up towards North Avenue as well, and Roosevelt eventually too. So up here from Butterfield lifting northward, this is the zone. This is getting close up towards Glen Ellen. You're heading in that direction. So if you're in the Glen Ellen area, you need to be taking your tornado precaution right now and get to that safe zone. This is a potential tornado. We don't have any confirmation of it being on the ground, but the radar is really showing a clear signature here that there is some tight rotation within this storm. And this has more of the classic look for a thunderstorm that could produce a tornado than those other cells we were showing you a few moments ago. But right in this zone here is where that rotation is located. I'm going to take a peek at our radar, Live Doppler 7 Max radar, and there you can see it again. And I'm going to go to the velocity mode. And again, on the velocity mode, we're getting a little bit more of an indication here of some reds and greens right next to each other. That's pretty close to Briarcliff Boulevard, heading up towards Lambert Road here as well, and over towards Park Boulevard. There's Main Street in Glen Ellen, which runs up into downtown, and there's Wheaton as well. So if you're in this area here, south side of Wheaton, south side of Glen Ellen, that circulation is going to pass right over top of you in the next few moments. So you need to be taking your tornado precautions at this point, which is that small interior room, and stay safe and let this storm pass on by. Greg, you have something?
I was just taking a look at it, and yeah, to give perspective on where that rotation is, it's right there where 88 and 355. It's just off to the west of that, kind of come together. Butterfield Road. Geez, when you get off there, there's like a Binny's there, PGA Superstore, kind of down towards the Portillos. That's like the type of area that we're talking. So if you're familiar with Butterfield Road, you know exactly where that is. And yeah, the reason that we've kind of switched from the Kane County one to this one in DuPage County is because this rotation is a lot more classic. This is from Live Doppler 7 Max, and it's getting a really good view. You see just a lot of multicolored noise around it, but right there, those reds next to green, a solid indication here as this is getting set to cross over 53. You should definitely be taking your tornado precautions with this. This is probably the best rotation, the strongest rotation that we've seen on radar so far this afternoon. And to be honest with you, like Larry and Cheryl have been saying, with this type of setup, what we're going to be doing here through the next couple of hours with the tornado warnings is probably popping one up. It gets strong. We warn it. We talk about it for a little while. It tamps down, and then we have to kind of stomp out another little fire. These aren't the classic huge supercells that are going to get going and chug along for 30, 40 miles worth of a length, picking up, putting down, picking up, putting down. These are capped at 20, 25,000 feet. They're really not getting that strong, not even producing that much lightning. I mean, out of this storm, there's been 2 lightning strikes, but still, with so much rotation in the lowest 5,000 feet of the atmosphere, as Larry showed you, what's going to happen is when even these smaller updrafts get going very quickly, they get spun like a top because of that shift to a southerly wind just 5,000 feet off the ground. And here are the areas that you need to be concerned. Addison coming up right about in the next 5 or so minutes. If you live in Addison, you should be in the lowest level of your apartment or building right now, center of the house, the lowest floor. This is right after school has gotten out, so maybe some of the kids are just getting home now and you're just getting these warnings. Elk Grove, same type of deal. Des Plaines, same type of deal there too. That'll be at 4:07, so you still got some time. That's actually out of the warning box. And I do want to point out, this is only in DuPage County right now. It hasn't been extended on over into Cook County. But again, getting the latest scan here, and this is a new scan coming in from Live Doppler 7 Max. You still do have that really good rotation, and the radar is not that far away. So we are getting the lowest cuts, at least within the lowest 2,000 feet of this storm system. So you are getting that true low-level rotation that you look for when you're looking for tornadic development. If this is happening in kind of the mid or upper parts of the storm, it wouldn't be as confusing. But when it is this low, it is something to look at. We're getting in now to when schools have been let out, when kids are going to or from practice, and the roads are starting to pick up into that rush hour. And this is going to be crossing 355 within, I'd guess, probably the next 15 or so minutes, and it will be north of where it is along the Reagan or the Eisenhower there. So, oh no, Siri, I won't say that again. Taking a look here again at 355, there's the latest scan, moving closer and closer to that. So if you do know anyone who's headed up 355 now, probably best time to get on the phone with them and let them know. Don't head north, don't head south, depending on where they are in location to this. Again, it's not in the northern reaches of Cook County just yet. It is still kind of firmly in DuPage County, but looking pretty good there from a rotation point of view. Anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Rotation on the velocity data has kind of let up just a little bit.
Slightly.
Look at that.
Yep.
So, like when you look at the radar presentation at the moment, there's still a little notch right there, but it's not as intense as it was maybe about 5 minutes ago. So that's a hopeful sign. Obviously, we need to take it very seriously because it still could be producing a tornado. And this is getting close now towards the Glendale Heights area, up towards Glen Ellen, crossing over 64 in the next 5 minutes or so. And you folks up towards Bloomingdale and Addison, you need to be prepared too. This storm is going to head your direction. And it's not one of those storms where you hear a bunch of thunder before it hits you or get a lot of rain even for that matter. This is just a fast moving, almost shower, kind of a tropical like atmosphere with the spin that we have in the low levels of the atmosphere. It's certainly gotten muggy out there this afternoon, but that is that really clear defined notch right now, which is heading up towards the Glendale Heights area. We don't want to neglect that other tornado warning we have up here in Kane County. This tornado warning, you folks in Dundee right now, you can see it's been trimmed back a little bit. It's a smaller red box than it was earlier, but right there, that's that circulation heading up just now near Dundee, between Gilbert's and Dundee. This is the zone here where we need to be cautious for that potential tornado lifting northward at that spot in parts of Kane County. And since we got a new scan of our radar, it does show like it is tightening up again here. So this kind of is the wax and wane effect of these rotation centers. They loosen up, they may tighten back up. This is not an environment where we get very large tornadoes. It's more of those quick spin up tornadoes, which is a possibility. And so that's why we're watching these storms that are popping up. And I know we have Phil Schwartz, our other meteorologist, out in Storm Tracker Live right now. I think we've got a picture from him that we're going to show you. I'm not sure exactly where he's located, but Phil, can you hear me right now? He's on 355 right now.
I can hear you. Yeah, we are at 80, or excuse me, we are at 355 and 55. So we're about 15, 20 miles away. We can see the top of the storm, and as I zoom in, I don't want to call it a wall cloud because I don't believe that's what it is, but you can see a pretty well-defined base there in the distance, and that's where we're headed. So we're going to catch up with this storm here probably in about 10 to maybe 20 minutes, depending on traffic. So still got a little ways to go, but definitely an ominous looking sky to our north.
Reported in Glen Ellen. Obviously, you're pretty far away. You can't really see that, but that does look like the lower base right now. Is that what you can kind of confirm for us?
Yeah, you know, it does look like a lowering base in the backside of the storm, so, you know, where you would typically be most concerned about, and it is in the area that we are seeing the rotation. But, you know, I know it's a little hard to see here because of all the buildings and obviously the traffic and what have you, but it does look fairly impressive. But again, we are still probably, I would estimate, a good 10 to maybe 15 miles from that storm. But you know, we're going to be on it soon, and if we get any kind of image, Larry, or any signs of a rotation, we'll be much closer here in just about, say, 10 minutes or so.
Great, Phil. Thanks for that update. And we just got a new updated warning outline for this tornado warning in DuPage County. You can see the red box has kind of been updated a little bit here to include Bloomingdale and then up towards the Addison. You were already in the tornado warning, but it's been shaved down to the south. And right there, heading towards Glendale Heights, is where that circulation is located. And our radar, which we've been talking about, which is relatively close to this storm, which is our radar is located out towards the Elburn area over there, just to the west of here. And it really has a nice view of this storm as it's lifting northward. So right there is that circulation just crossing over 64, hugging I-355 right now, lifting northward. So if you're on the west side of 355, that's the zone right now where this possible tornado is located. We've gotten reports of funnel clouds. Thankfully so far, Cheryl, no reports of touchdowns. So that's the best news we can share with you. But again, this storm and that other storm up in Kane County still could produce a tornado at any moment. And there are going to be more showers and little storms coming our way this evening, which could also prompt more tornado warnings. Cheryl?
Yes, and we're getting some reports in, as you just mentioned, a report of a funnel sighting in this area. Also just coming in, a rotating wall cloud has been spotted over Glen Ellen. So we do have some storm spotters out there right now assessing this situation. These aren't extremely strong storms, but it's the zone that we've been talking about right around the Glen Ellen area. This is where we're finding that rotation. So Glendale Heights up towards the north here, zooming on in. Army Trail Road, there's 355. We also have meteorologist Phil Schwartz out there as well in the storm tracker, keeping an eye on things. You can see Glen Ellen Road lifting to the north, and there's that notch right around Swift Road there. East Fullerton Ave just to the north there. We just mentioned Army Trail Road. This is the zone here where we're looking for the potential here of a weak tornado touchdown. That's not out of the question as these reports are coming in and people out there eyeing the storm are finding the rotation here. So keeping an eye on velocity, continuing to see here that Glendale Heights, North Glen Ellen up towards Swift here. You can see some greens next to some reds. The scan not looking nearly as impressive as it was just about a few minutes ago, but this area, Wheaton College over towards Glenbard West High School, as well as Ackerman Park, which is just up to the north of this area, is where we are seeing the potential here of that tornado touchdown. Nothing has been confirmed in this region right now, but the tornado warning still does exist in this region for northern DuPage County until 4:15. So from Bloomingdale down towards Glendale Heights, this is a highly populated area. Greg was also mentioning this. It's 3:45. We're beginning to get into the afternoon evening commute. Heavy rain is also occurring with these showers and storms working their way through. So definitely some reduced visibility with the potential of a brief touchdown of a tornado or two not out of the question with these showers and storms working their way through tonight. We also still do have that tornado warning in effect for King County until 4 p.m. as well. So as we backtrack, if you're just joining us right now, we have two tornado warnings on the map. The one for DuPage County exists until 4:15. This is the one which we are finding where there is a little bit more rotation there. So zooming on in, you can see 290 there, 355. The intersection is where this storm is basically crossing over right now. So just to the north of Tasca up towards Roselle. If you're in this zone, if you're getting that warning and we're talking about your city and you're hearing that, make sure you get to your safe place. Lowest level of your home in a basement is best, away from walls and windows. If you don't have a basement, in an interior room on the lowest level of your home here. So you can see 5320 Addison, Bloomingdale. Greg was also mentioning a lot of restaurants in this location. As we zoom on in, getting closer, Glen Ellen Road. Let me just take off this warning box for you so you can get a clear eye here on some of these roads, right where we are finding the rotation. Byron Ave, North Swift Ave, 355. Okay, and we also have Storm Tracker. I believe we have Storm Tracker up for you right now. Okay, this is just past 88. And Phil is monitoring the storm, and this is the storm that we also have eyes on. A little bit ominous as we take a look at that. We're not seeing anything in terms of a funnel cloud from this vantage point, but clearly we have eyes on this, and meteorologist Phil Schwartz is tracking this as well. But this is the zone. We have a little bit of a hook there around 355 Army Trail Road up towards the north, Greenbrier Drive, 290 Bloomingdale Road, and I believe we just got a new tornado warning that has been expanded with this storm as it continues to lift its way into northern Cook County, which means this is going to continue to impact a lot of areas where we do have a lot of folks living. Again, we're getting into that time frame of the afternoon and evening where a lot of people are heading home from work and school as well. So here's that new warning in effect here. So this is going to be in effect until 4:30, and this is now for northern Cook County. And this thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Addison, which we were just mentioning, and this will continue its way up to the north and east. So we're continuing to monitor this storm out of DuPage County that will continue its way to the north and east. And as we track this, where we are finding the potential right close to Addison up towards Wooddale, this is the zone where we're finding the potential here of that rotation. That's where we're finding the little bit of the hook with the shower and embedded thunderstorm action. So Addison 350. And that is in about 1 minute. So we've been talking about you, but Elk Grove Village in about 5 to 10 minutes, this storm is heading in your direction. Elk Grove at 4 o'clock, Des Plaines at 4:07. So this is a highly populated area here. Elk Grove up towards Mount Prospect, crossing over 90 up towards Wheeling. Everyone in this tornado warned zone now. You need to be alert. Keep it tuned to us. We're going to continue monitoring this. And the rotation is evident here on radar, where we are finding a little bit still of that hook. So we're getting inflow into the storm here. Winds at the surface out of the east-southeast in the upper levels of the atmosphere coming in at a different direction. We're not looking at extreme strong supercell thunderstorms here, but as we dissect this, we're going to see that the storm tops basically here with this one storm that will continue to work its way into northern Cook up to about 20,000 feet here. So 20,000 foot storm that we're dealing with here, but the main threats will be the downpours as well as the rotation. Guys, I hear a lot of alerts coming in from the National Weather Service.
Yeah, Cheryl, they canceled the Kane County tornado warning, so the Kane County's gone. That was the new alert we just got. That's good news. No more tornado warning for Kane County, but that new tornado warning that extends into northern Cook County also includes O'Hare. So at the airport right now, they're funneling people down in the tornado shelters, and if you walk at the airport, you see sometimes the restrooms have the tornado shelters sign on them, and that's where they're sending the people right now at O'Hare, because O'Hare is included in this tornado warning. Right now, that storm is over Addison. If you're up around Addison, Itasca, Wooddale, Bensonville, those are the towns where this rotation is basically moving right over top of you. Again, nothing confirmed on the ground, at least at this moment, but it does have a history of producing funnel clouds. Right now, and we've got Storm Tracker live heading up 355 right now, and that rotation center is pretty much right over 355 at this moment, right near the Addison area. There it is on the radar, and I'll go in closer here. Well, first let me show you this, and Cheryl was mentioning these storms only go up about 20,000 feet, so they're not strong hail producing storms, but they have that rotation in them, and there's that storm. Phil, I have you right now on the video. Can you give us a better idea of kind of what you're seeing? Now, Phil's going to talk to us in just a second, but that's great that we have his picture up, because right here, he's traveling northward on 355, and right there is that rotation right where 355 and 290 come together. That's the rotation center at this point. So this is pretty much over Addison, heading up over towards Itasca at this point. Wooddale as well. You're right here. So this spot is where that rotation is. And again, it's heading up towards Itasca, eventually up here towards Elk Grove Village. village, you need to be taking your tornado precautions at this point. It's not a storm that is that classic supercell thunderstorm where we get a lot of lightning. In fact, when you look here, and I've got lightning data on the map, there's no lightning at all. So this is an unusual event where we've got a storm that's capable of producing a tornado, but there's no lightning or thunder with it. So very unusual setup. We don't get these very often up here, but sometimes we do. In this case here, there's a lot of that low-level rotation, which has prompted the warning with this particular storm. Now, I'll go again a little bit closer into this and give you some street spots here where we're really most concerned. So this is coming up on Bloomingdale Road right now. So this is just rolling out of Itasca. Bloomingdale 19 right now, heading up towards Division Street, heading up towards Arlington Heights Road, Prospect Avenue, really between Prospect Avenue and I-355, and then also over towards 53 here on the other side of 355. There is still that little notch right here. So somewhere in this zone is where this tornado is possibly located if it's actually touching down. And again, we've got no confirmation of it being on the ground, but this is the area of rotation which is really clearly being picked up by the radar when we look at those little hook echoes that form out of these little clusters of showers. Now, the other thing to take note of, and Cheryl and Greg and I, we've been talking about this throughout the afternoon, is that right here is where that warm front is located. So once these storms hit that warm front, they started to spin enough to prompt a tornado warning. And it's because the winds right there where that warm front are more out of the southeast than out of the south. And so that enhances that spin at the low levels of the atmosphere and can spin up these brief tornadoes. Oh, that's a view right now. Is that Rosemont?
Yes.
Okay, that's our Rosemont camera looking out towards that storm. Let's take that full screen if we could, just to get a better vantage point of it, because what you're looking at there is what we call the rain-free base. That's the lowest level of that storm, where if there is rotation, it would be occurring in that spot right down there, that rain-free area where it's got the dark clouds. That's where the air is actually rising up into the storm itself. And in that spot is, if there was a funnel cloud or anything like that, we would be able to take a peek of it. If we can we move that camera just a little bit to the right? Perfect. Keep going a little bit more. Let's just scan the horizon here to get a view of what we're seeing. So as we pan to the right, you'll see on the far right-hand side of your screen, you notice how the gray reaches all the way down to the ground? That's the rain coming down. So in that rain-free area, just to the left of where the gray makes it all the way down to the ground, that's the base of the thunderstorm, or in this case it's a shower, but I'll call it a thunderstorm because we typically call them storms. But at that base right there, that's where the air is moving upward into the sky, and it's showing some signs of rotation. At this point from our Rosemont camera, and there you can see the tri-state there at the bottom of your screen, we're looking off towards the west at that lower base of cloud cover to see if we can spot any of that rotation. Maybe a funnel cloud, maybe something worse, but at least from this vantage point, we don't have a spot view of any funnel clouds or anything like that. That's a good sign, but again, we're not right up on that storm. This is a good maybe 10 miles away that we're looking there. It's a beautiful picture. We get a nice storm, but again, we got to see what's going on a little bit closer to where that storm is located. And I know meteorologist Phil Schwartz is getting closer to the storm right now as he's traveling on Storm Tracker Live at 3:55. Greg, you got something?
No, I was going to take a look and compare the radars, because as we said, this is like splitting hairs type stuff, because these aren't the classic supercell storms that we are accustomed to seeing, where you have big swaths of rotation. It shows up all the way through the storm. We're really looking at the very lowest level, the lowest 5,000 or so feet of that. And while that's a good thing, because it means we're likely not going to see any major tornadoes, EF3, EF4, EF5s, just because the storms aren't strong enough or tall enough to get those really whipping and rotating with the updrafts, it does also present a little bit of a problem, because you have to sample the lowest levels of these to actually see the rotation and get those warnings out. Again, at the latest check, we haven't actually seen a tornado on the ground, but reports of funnel clouds. And I want to give you an example of exactly how much of variability there is. So this is from the National Weather Service radar. It's located kind of out there in Will County, so it's a decent ways away. And there you can see the rotation now crossing over the county border between DuPage County and Cook County. That's a really good spot to kind of nail it down. Again, it hasn't quite made it to 90 yet. Again, keep in mind, rush hour is getting going. If you're traveling following on 90 and you're going north of O'Hare, past O'Hare, off to the north and west of O'Hare, that is where this is running across right now. If you know someone who's just about to leave work and they travel on that route, go ahead and give them a heads up to let them sit tight. I'm sure that the airport right now is taking their tornado precautions as they are underneath a tornado warning. This will likely skip off to the northwest edge of the airport. But what I want to show you is a radar that's slightly closer. This is one that we don't typically look at. This is the terminal Doppler radar from O'Hare. So it's a little bit closer to this, and I really only mean a couple of miles, but that couple of miles gives you about 250, 500 feet worth of lower observations, and it's really tough to pick out any really big time rotation at the lowest levels of that. And again, that's about 250, 300 feet lower than this view that you're seeing right here. So that is a good sign that most of the rotation is staying slightly higher up into the storm at this hour. Again, that said, there's a lot of people out and it changes scan to scan. Taking a look here at the latest view of our radar, and I'm going to zip this just off to the north because it looks like, at least over the last scan or so, the notch is kind of let off a little bit, but it's still out there just off to the west of Elk Grove. And the larger view of this, just in case you're tuning in, this is the lay of the land for our tornado warnings. Again, until 4:15, which is coming up fairly soon here, we've got the tornado warning for DuPage County. But again, it has already skipped over into Cook County, and that goes until 4:30. This is the primary threat for tornado-producing storms this evening. It looks like after we get these storms up and north of the area, that actual threat for tornadoes should go down. But as we've all been saying all day, it is right now centered right on that warm front. Look at Midway, 82 degrees. The warm front draped just off to the north of that. We're at 75 at O'Hare. I mean, this is right in the zone of the front, because then you head a little bit north and you're on the cold side of the front, and Wadsworth dips to 61. Again, watching these storms along that leading edge of the front as we continue through the next couple of hours, and these storms off to the south. Let me go back one map. These storms off to the south through central Illinois, I don't think that they're going to pose nearly as much of a threat for tornadic development as the ones we are seeing now. So hopefully, Larry, coming through the heart of this within about the next half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, and you know, we're kind of at that zone where we've got peak heating from the afternoon.
Yeah.
Temperatures have warmed, as you showed, into the upper 70s and low 80s in some locations. And we've got just a perfect environment right now for these storms to rotate. And I don't know if we still have our Rosemont camera. Let's take that again if we can, if we have it back up, because I just want to view this storm, because the updated tornado warning has taken DuPage County out of the warning, and now this is a northern Cook County tornado warning. It does look like a nasty little storm out there, and I have seen a few lightning strikes in just the past few minutes here with that storm. Can we go back to that real quick again, just because we're looking from Rosemont right over there, real close to the Rosemont Entertainment Center where the mall is in Rosemont. That's where our camera's located, and we're looking off in that general direction. I don't know if we still have that camera. There we go. Yeah, that's it. So right there, you can see we're looking in this direction towards that notch right there on the radar, and that's what it looks like from that perspective. Again, I was a little mistaken. It's only about 5 miles away. I was thinking a little bit farther than that when I said 10 miles earlier, but it's only about 5 miles away from that storm rotation, and that's a view right there where you've got a nasty looking storm. Couple things on that storm that I can spot for you. There's a little bit what we call scud clouds, which are those clouds that are, if you look at this picture, so if you look at that picture right there in the middle, the little fuzzy darker gray clouds that aren't really connected to the main base of the clouds, that's the air running up into that storm itself, and we call those scud clouds. Now what you'd watch for as a storm spotter is to see if that stuff was rotating. It's kind of hard to see from a camera this perspective 5 miles away, but there doesn't stand out anything to me that says, oh yeah, that's our rotation right there, that's our funnel. But these are the things we spot when we have these beautiful camera views of a storm like this. There's certainly a lower cloud base and maybe even a wall cloud starting to form. So I don't know if we can take this full and put me in front of the picture. That might be a possibility as well. But right there where you've got the darker clouds right in the middle of your screen. So we're going to try to switch that view and get me right in front of that. But right there again is that circulation heading over Elk Grove Village right now. If you're in Mount Prospect, you need to be taking your tornado precautions at this point as well. Small interior room, just let this storm pass on by. Couple of lightning strikes, there's one right there, and there's the latest radar scan too. You can see how quickly this storm is lifting off to the north. So it's getting real close to you folks in Mount Prospect right now. Getting ready to cross over 58 at this point. Eventually, it's really right over 62 as well. So if you're along Bussey Road up towards Lincoln Street, over towards just to the east of Arlington Heights Road, heading up into downtown Mount Prospect, that's the zone right now where this rotation is heading. So right up in this general area, that's the spot. Let's go back to our Rosemont camera if we can and take another view of that, because with that latest radar scan, yeah, okay, there we go. Look at that. So that is an impressive looking little thunderstorm. And as we've been talking about, it only goes up about 20,000 feet, but it's an angry looking sky right there. And right in the kind of the 1/3 right hand side of your screen, where you got the darkest cloud base, which is closest to the ground, that's where our wall cloud and kind of rotation is located. It's a broader rotation, so we'd be watching for anything to drop out of that dark cloud, which is closest to the ground on the right-hand side of your screen. At this point, we don't really see anything from this vantage point. Certainly could be there. And oftentimes, you know, we have tornadoes that you don't really see touch the ground because they don't have a condensation funnel that makes it all the way down to the ground. So a couple of things that say that's an ugly looking storm, but we can't confirm if anything's on the ground by this vantage point. And Cheryl, we've been looking at this here. It's just to the northwest of O'Hare, and we've been talking about how everybody at the airport is in their tornado shelter at this point. The worst of this circulation is going to miss O'Hare, but right now it's over Arlington Heights, Elk Grove Village, heading up towards Mount Prospect and Arlington Heights. So that's the zone right now for this this circulation. Cheryl, that's a storm cloud. We haven't seen one of these in a while.
That's very true. We've had a pretty quiet spring so far, but looking very ominous. And this is our Rosemont camera looking to the north and west. So think about O'Hare in this region, Mount Prospect as well. We did receive a report from DuPage County that they saw a funnel cloud with a storm that has now crossed over into Cook County. So there is the potential here as we continue to monitor this storm full screen, watching this very closely. You can see the back tail end of this storm there with the imagery coming in from this camera shot, the lowering of the clouds. What we can also notice is that this is slowly moving here to the north and east at about 15 to 25 miles per hour. You can see some lowering of the clouds, some scud that we're finding there as well. And with the movement to the north and east, we're not seeing too much rotation with the lowest level of this dropping of the cloud there. So I'm watching velocity here and taking a look at the storm at the same time. We're still picking up on that rotation, weak in nature, but with that said, something still that we need to watch out for. And you can see the tail end here of that storm, that inflow that we're tracking, moving to the north and east. And also notice the traffic in this region as well. We're getting into that afternoon, evening commute. A lot of people out and about. Phil Schwartz is also out monitoring this storm, keeping an eye on it, and he will definitely let us know first if we see a funnel or a potential tornado touchdown out of this. And we've been talking about the threat of these severe storms moving through the area. Some of these almost just showery action in terms of the strength of the thunderstorms. These are not strong supercell thunderstorms moving through. So the ominous sky there, again, the lowering of the cloud, the storm heights up to about 20,000 feet, the potential there of some rotation. As we take you back towards radar, we're continuing to find that circulation and that rotation right around Mount Prospect here. And again, right along I-83 up towards 294, up towards Northbrook, Highland Park, Wheeling. You're out ahead of this system. Seeing a lot of reports coming in here from the National Weather Service, where we are getting a good view of that storm from the Rosemont camera, which we've been showing you, and definitely a little bit of spin still with a warm front that is located in this region. So just to backtrack here for a little bit, take you back to radar. Here's a good view where we have the tornado warning in effect until 4:30. So right around Mount Prospect to the north of I-90 now, just crossing to the north, right along the warm frontal boundary, just to the north Prospect Heights, Mount Prospect, and then 58 there. And reports of a funnel cloud were spotted in DuPage County with this storm that just moved out of DuPage County will continue its way to the north. And what we can say with these storms that are moving here in this environment, once they officially cross over the warm frontal boundary, they'll really lose their ability to spin. So we just have to wait a few more hours here before we get these storms completely up to the north. So Wheeling, Arlington Heights, Elk Grove, you are just out of this. So Mount Prospect, Prospect Heights, Wheeling, as we zoom on in. Here are some roads in this area with the potential of the rotation. You can see Willow Road, East Camp McDonald Road, Palatine Road. This is right around the Prospect Heights region. 294. This is about to get very close and continue its way north, riding right along 294 there. There's 45. There's 83, Prospect Heights and Wheeling. We'll zoom out just a little bit here, get a track on this. These are moving to the north and east at about 30 miles per hour. Prospect Heights, we've been talking about you, Northbrook 419, and then continuing its way up into parts of Lake County, and that will happen closer to about 426. 407 right now, a time check with this storm in effect until 4:30. Backing up, I just want to take a look at velocity. It does appear we are beginning to lose a little bit of the rotation. It's not looking nearly as defined as it was just about 25-30 minutes ago. So we could be losing a little bit of that rotation out there. Still have a little bit of a hook with the shower and storm activity in northern Cook County now. So you can see from Mount Prospect just down to the south to the north of I-90 here. This is where that inflow would be happening, allowing for some of that rotation in the atmosphere this afternoon and evening. So as we take a look here at satellite and radar in movement, we've had a few warnings issued. We have the one warning that is continued to be issued now for northern Cook County. Some lightning being detected at this point in time, moving through northern Cook and also up towards Lake and McHenry County. But other than that, this is the focus point where we have that warm front that will continue to lift its way up to the north and off to the east of us. So it's really along and north of I-80 where we're seeing the storm formation and the potential of any storm action here to pick up on the rotation. Regional view showing the showers and storms not only here back to the west with the area of low pressure checking in with, Elk Grove Village, Cook County, an airplane pilot, this just coming in, reports of funnel clouds. So this was at 4:04, so just about 5 minutes ago. Back to radar we go, reported a funnel, beginning stages of a tornado, but this was just west of O'Hare, and that time is estimated by radar. So as we take you back towards radar again, still seeing the tail end of the shower here that's moving to the north. So just off to the north of Mount Prospect. Here's a view coming in from our storm tracker. Do we have Phil on the phone with us? Not hearing anything right now. Okay, we do not have Phil, but we do have a view. Can you tell me what camera this is? I see Irving Park there, the location here where we're looking from this. I would imagine off to the west, but you can see the lowering of the clouds. Not seeing anything too ominous with this shot coming in, but you can see the cloud cover. We do have cameras around that we continue to assess, but again, that pilot reporting a funnel cloud that happened about 5 minutes ago. So that was just off to the north and west of O'Hare, and it's really right around the Mount Prospect site and East Wolf Road, just to the west of 294. We are now getting Phil. You are on the phone with us. Can you give us some input of where you are, what you're seeing? Have you sighted any funnels with this storm?
You know what, Cheryl, we hit a lot of traffic, so it delayed us as we headed north on I-355. We're still on I-355. Onto I-90 here, so we're getting very close to Elk Grove Village. We're going to get on the backside of this storm and then try to catch up to it as we head onto the tri-state. So you see the rather ominous sky. It's not that ominous because we're still a good 10 miles away from the storm, and the storm's moving away from us. But as we turn east and then head back to the north, we'll be more on an intercept course with the south. So we're on the backside. If we get any signs of circulation or a lowering wall cloud, we'll let you know. I felt it looked quite a bit better about 20-30 minutes ago when the storm was over DuPage County, but we were 15-20 miles behind it. Now we're getting closer to the storm, but depending on traffic, we should be able to catch up with it as we get onto the tri-state and start to head north towards Wheeling. Cheryl?
And Phil, I'm going to take it right now because I was talking with the National Weather Service, and really now through about the next 5 to 10 minutes is one of the greatest concerns we actually have for a possible tornado, according to the Weather Service, because this storm is now crossing over that warm front. It's moving directly over that warm front, and sometimes those warm fronts can be enough to tighten up that rotation and possibly produce a tornado. So if you're in Prospect Heights and Mount Prospect right now, you really need to be in your tornado safe room right now and let this storm pass. We can go to the radar here. Let's go to the radar real quick because I got a new radar scan in that I want to show you that really shows that this hook echo has kind of become a little bit more enhanced here in the past couple of moments. And there's the latest radar scan. So I can tell you here in Northbrook, it's 67 degrees. If you go just south of where that storm is now, we're well into the 70s. So there is a tight gradient here in temperatures. It's still 75 at O'Hare despite rain coming nearby. So right in this spot right there is where that warm front is located. And again, that can be just enough to spin these things up and drop a tornado on the ground. Thankfully, I've gotten no confirmation of anything on the ground, but the rotation right now is directly over Prospect Heights and Powauke Airport heading towards the northeast. So if you're right near the airport there, Powauke Airport, you need to be in that safe room because that rotation center is right overhead. I'm sure the sirens are going off, your cell phones are going off as well. But this is a situation where at this point, we don't know if there's anything on the ground, but we need to treat it like there's a tornado on the ground. And so this is heading up towards 68, crossing over 45 in the next few moments, heading up towards Sanders Road, Lake Cook Road. That's going to be the next road after it gets past 68, where that rotation is going to continue to lift northward. The storm itself is moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour, so it may cross over the tri-state here in a few matter of minutes here once you get north of the airport here. That's a spot where the rotation center, at least, is going to cross over the highway. There you can see it crossing over 21 at the moment, and then eventually over 45, and then heading up here towards 294. So in this zone, extreme northern parts of Cook County, right near Prospect Heights, Mount Prospect, you need to be in that tornado safe room right now and let this storm pass because it is lifting pretty quickly now off towards the north. You folks in Wheeling, that's also the spot where that rotation is located, heading up towards River Woods, Buffalo Grove, Lincolnshire. You need to be in that safe spot at this time. Right now, they're deciding whether or not to continue the warning into Lake County. As you can see, Lake County, you're not included in the tornado warning. As this gets into the cooler air, which is coming in off the lake, that can cut down and dramatically drop the tornado threat pretty rapidly with the cooler air feeding into the storm. Storms thrive on that warm, moist air, and you need that to get the spin going and also keep these storms going. Once they encounter this cooler air coming in off the lake, there'll still be some rain coming down, but the threat of a tornado will drop off. But at this point, that tornado warning continues here for the northern parts of Cook County until 4:30, but this storm will be out of Cook County before we get to 4:30, so it'll be dropped before that. Greg, you got something?
It will, yeah. It'll definitely be dropped before that effectively, even if they don't trim it up, because they are definitely making the decision on whether or not to extend this now into Lake County. And taking the latest look at it, you can still see that notch. And I put this in kind of the least smoothed view. It's why it looks a bit more abstract, but I think it helps you pick out just the little tiny notches that are available. And then as the new scan comes in right there. So this is just crossed over 294. Again, continuing north to Northbrook. If you live in Deerfield, you are a bit north of the area of concern for rotation, but this will skip just off to the south of town, kind of out towards Highland Park. Again, these two spots in Lake County, not currently in the warning, but if it were to get extended into Lake County, they would certainly go into that. And it is a very interesting spot that we find ourselves in right now because we are on the cusp of this warm front. So there's a brief period here where we can see that rotation start to wrap up. I just got a new scan in, and it is really tough now to pick out the rotation. And this is what the National Weather Service may be wringing their hands over a little bit now, because there is that brief letdown. But again, as this crosses over that warm front, there's always the chance to squeeze a bit more rotation, and it's only a 1 or 2 scan type deal where a minute or two elapses, you get a very quick tornado, it's on the ground momentarily, and then it lifts back up. Now, again, looking at the National Weather Service chat, there's no reports of that, but we have seen a funnel cloud with this particular storm plenty of time. Midway is at 82, it's 75 at O'Hare, it's 61 in Wadsworth. I mean, O'Hare is basically right on that warm front. And the good news is, again, as this crosses over the warm front, once we get through about the next 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes where it's crossing over the front and could possibly get stronger. Once we get past that, we do get into the influence of that wind coming in and off of Lake Michigan. We also get north of the front in the cooler, slightly less humid air. And these storms will very quickly lose steam. Another good thing here is on the south side of all of these storms, notice something. The tornado warnings, they kind of started down here in DuPage County, over in Kane County, and they've lifted north. You don't see anything off to the south. And that extra development that we were hoping we wouldn't see into the 6 o'clock hour, at least at this point, doesn't look like it's going to come over to fruition. Taking a look here at the National Weather Service chat, again, the latest thing is they have not extended that. We still have, about 15 minutes, 10 minutes left on that warning for northern Cook County at this time. And the temperature change over the last 24 hours is wild. We're up 15, 20 degrees. That's why we've seen, as that warm front lifted north, the big change for us. So sending it on over to Larry, who is ready to talk about that radar now. And Larry, again, the temperature change is the big thing. That front that has washed over the area completely changed kind of the dynamics of what we're seeing today.
Yeah, it really did. The other thing to point out, though, these showers that are still developing to the south, as they get closer to that warm front, we'll still have to keep an eye on it because they could blossom even more and produce some rotation as well. So we're not in the clear after this tornado warning ends, but these storms down to the south are not looking very robust at the moment. But as they lift northward, something to keep an eye on. And we are anticipating scattered showers all through the rest of the afternoon, through the evening hours, and then we have more rain and thunderstorms in the forecast for tomorrow with a small threat of severe weather again tomorrow. So this is just a complex situation here where we don't have those classic big supercell thunderstorms. Instead, we've got these tiny little showers that are producing some spots of rotation. And there you can see it now crossing over the county line, crossing over Lake Cook Road, lifting off to the north right now. And just talking with the National Weather Service, we have communication with the National Weather Service all the time. They're the ones that issue the warnings. We just kind of interpret what we're seeing as meteorologists on the radar and pass that information along to you. They're saying they're not going to extend that warning, that tornado warning, into Lake County. So at this point, this tornado warning will end for Cook County and not be extended into Lake County. The tornado threat is lowering for now. They're obviously going to keep a close eye on it. And it's one of those reasons we were talking about. It's encountering that cooler air coming in off the lake, and that's going to cut off the inflow to that storm. So where the air is rising, if it ingests cooler air, it doesn't have an opportunity to produce a tornado down to the ground. It's just the way the atmosphere works when you have dynamics like that. Still looks a little impressive on the radar, but again, it's starting to ingest that cooler air, which is a good sign in lowering the threat for a possible tornado. And I mentioned the concern for additional showers and thunderstorms as we go through the evening. Let me just show you Futurecast here, and we'll step through time. Obviously, we're in our 4 o'clock newscast. It's 4:19 right now, and as we go through the clock here on Futurecast, you can see more isolated to scattered showers and even a few rumbles of thunder possible as we go into the evening. Coverage may start to tick up a little bit later this evening as well. And as these storms encounter that warm front, which will still be there later this evening, we'll have to watch for any rotation with them as well. Really between about now and say 8, 9 o'clock in the evening is the window of time where we still have the concern for maybe some brief spin-up tornadoes and some isolated warnings. And then as we head into the overnight hours, some scattered showers. But the concern for tornadoes overnight tonight is pretty much low to zero. It's really the next several hours where we've got the threat. Cheryl, you've got a good beat on that storm right now in northern Cook County heading into Lake County. Give us an update what you're seeing.
Yeah, actually, National Weather Service confirming that they're expiring this tornado warning in Cook County. So that's good. That means we have no tornado warnings issued in effect at this point in time. So they're going to go ahead and cancel that. And that's because it's losing its rotation. We've been talking about it moving right over that warm front. So just to the north and along I-294 into Lake County, we're still going to watch out for the storm bringing very gusty winds as well as those downpours. Not even seeing really any lightning right now, but just to the north now of Northbrook, crossing over 94 Highland Park up towards Delmar Woods and Lincolnshire. You're just off to the west of this system. This will continue to lift its way to the north and east, and there's Lake Forest. So you're going to get in on some shower, a quick downpour or two, but it's losing its ability here to pick up on that low level wind shear, where we have those winds turning at different levels of the atmosphere. Really, that becomes pronounced when it encounters a frontal boundary. There's that warm front draped here across parts of northern Cook County. That's why we were talking about that spin. A few spotters seeing some funnel clouds developing out of these showers and a few isolated storms this afternoon. So as we go into the evening, that front remains in place. This isolated storm that had the tornado warning with it is now moving to the north of it. So it's losing its ability to spin. But any showers and storms, as Larry was just mentioning, that do form later on this afternoon and run into the frontal boundary, still the possibility there of some spin here as we go into the next couple of hours. So like I said, National Weather Service is going to go ahead and cancel the tornado warning here for northern Cook County as that storm crosses over the county line. And here's something interesting. We've been talking about that frontal boundary. You can see Waukegan at a cool 61 degrees, and also that influence off of the cooler lake waters. Lake water temps right now in the 50s, and then down at O'Hare, temperatures in the mid 70s. And even farther to the south, we have temperatures warmer. So a muggier, more humid air mass existing along and south of that frontal boundary, that warm front. So really those showers and storms get going, encounter the front, and then they take on that spin. And that's why we do have the possibility still of a few isolated and weak tornadoes in the area here, and still some very, very weak rotation here being picked up on velocity here as this one little system and this cluster here of rain showers and an embedded storm or two will continue to cross over 94. So still some very weak rotation. We are continuing to bring you some live shots here. This is Storm Tracker. I know Phil was out south of this storm here, so he's heading north, likely from 355 up to 294. So as we get a view here with satellite and radar combined, we still do have some activity that is forming off to the south. So the showers and storms that we've been talking about moving through parts of Lake County now, they will continue to exit up into parts of Wisconsin. We still do have some instability here in this region. We have winds out of the south here. It's muggy, it's humid. You can see some scattered showers and storms back to the west and down to the south. So as we go into the next couple of hours, we still do have that severe weather threat that will persist here until about 8 o'clock tonight with the dynamic system that is moving through. We also still are under that slight risk of a few isolated strong to severe storms tonight. That's 2 out of 5 on that severe weather scale. But we were talking about this over the past 48 hours. One of the main threats with the showers and storms moving through tonight was weak, brief tornadoes, because there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere. And we can look at that as we look at the profile of the atmosphere here in advance of this storm system. So the probability of tornadoes still a percent or a threat in the region here as we go into the evening. I think Futurecast is overdoing this just a little bit, but still picking up on the idea here that a few scattered storms will continue to develop across northern Illinois as we go into the evening. And we're not out of the woods as we go into the day tomorrow. Larry, I know we're keeping our eyes on things tonight, and this is where we do have that tornado threat, or when we do. But tomorrow we also have the possibility of a few isolated showers and storms. So this is ongoing with the unsettled weather.
Yeah, definitely in the next couple of days, still a little bit unsettled, but it's going to get hot for the weekend. We've been talking about 80s and even 90s for Memorial Day, which is still in the forecast. But to go over the radar again, no warnings at this point, no tornado warnings in effect. That's the best news I can share with you. Meteorologist Phil Schwartz has been on that trail of that one storm that prompted the warning. And Phil, I know you're heading through Des Plaines right now. Give me an update on what you've seen.
Yeah, you know, Larry, our temperature has dropped from 82 degrees to 75 in just the last 5 minutes as we're crossing that warm front and getting close to Northbrook. Right now, the best sky is actually on the other side of this wall here, so I'm hoping that I can show that to you here in just a second, because we're just about past that wall. And you can see we're not seeing that lowering base like we were seeing earlier. Still pretty good looking storm, but nothing that really would cause us any great concern. But these storms have not been that big all day as far as top. So we're going to continue to head north on this storm for just a little bit longer, get up closer to Highland Park and see what we might see. But right now we're just not seeing any signs of any rotation, and it doesn't look as impressive as it did just say 15 to 20 minutes ago. Larry.
Yeah, that's right, Phil. I mean, those pictures we were seeing were really quite impressive of those low cloud bases from those storms about about 30 minutes ago. And as I mentioned, the good news, no warnings right now, but we're keeping an eye on these other showers that are lifting northward towards that warm front. So if we get any more warnings, we'll let you know right away. But Rob and Judy, at this moment, we're in the clear of any nasty storms, at least at this point.